Artists' books offer many opportunities to play with the relationship between time and narrative. Let's take a look at two books that use distinct visual and physical devices to collapse and manipulate time. Intersection-Gion Kyoto by Kyoko Matsunaga and Maneater by Hannah Batsel. Kyoko Matsunaga is a Japanese artist working primarily in mixed media and artist books. Her sculptural books feature delicate imagery on semi-transparent materials that create a sense of distance from reality. Intersection-Gion Kyoto presents a series of altered photographs. On March 17, 2016, Matsunaga documented one cycle of the traffic signal at this major intersection. She took a photograph every 7 seconds. Each page is one of these photographs, sequenced in chronological order. Printed on Japanese paper and coated with beeswax, the pages are semi-transparent. The photographs, however, are incomplete. Faces and details from buildings and passing cars have been whited out. To create these images, Matsunaga altered the original photographs, deleting portions with white paint. White is a traditional and symbolic color in Japan. It can suggest nothingness, death, rebirth, innocence, or awe. For Matsunaga, white is a critical element used to connect the real world to her dreams and beyond. The contrast of empty spaces with the crisp details that remain brings an otherworldly feel to the book, a step or two removed from reality. The portions deleted to white also suggest the way memory, and even existence, can fade over time. Matsunaga designed this binding, which she named the water wheel binding. The repetition and slight changes from page to page make me think of animation stills and flipbooks. But this paper is translucent, so I can see through to the pages before and after, heightening my awareness of how moments in time progress, connected to each other. When I first read Intersection-Gion Kyoto, I very quickly latched onto this woman in a brown jacket with a red bag. She appears early, and while people move and gather around her, she waits in the same spot. Consistently there, she became the focus of my attention. When the signal changed, I felt shocked that she was gone, and a surprisingly deep sadness at this loss. This woman became a symbol for me of the things we get used to and expect to exist indefinitely. About 2/3 of the way through the book, one photo remains unaltered. The sky is all blue, the buildings reach the ground, and there are so many faces. When I asked Matsunaga about this, she said, "Inserting that one page that captures unprocessed reality makes viewers feel like waking up for a moment from a daydream and emphasizes the fact that this work is based on reality." The scene Matsunaga captured is mundane. How many of these people could recall what they noticed, or that they were even there at that particular moment in time? But I'm also aware that I'm looking at just one cycle of a traffic signal, a cycle that is repeated over and over. As the book ends, there are few people left in the vast space. Perhaps like our own fading memories, we can still see a few shapes and outlines until they gradually, inevitably, recede from view. Across the street, the red "Do Not Cross" sign stands out with the red jacket, as people once again begin assembling to cross. Hannah Batsel is a book artist, writer, and illustrator in Chicago, Illinois. Her work often explores real-world power structures through fictional narratives. Batsel is interested in the tensions that exist between cultures and social classes, as well as humanity and the natural world. Maneater is a set of 4 books that spread across time. Each book focuses on a distinct character's story in a larger, interconnected narrative. It begins in a stately home. A butler carries tea past walls that are covered with the spoils of 19th century European imperialism. Sir asks his butler if he's from a place like the one he's reading about. The butler replies that such places don't exist anymore. But Sir doesn't hear the underlying truth about colonialism's widespread destruction of habitats and cultures. Instead, he imagines this verdant place, and we reach a second, smaller book. This book can be read in place or removed to read separately. I wasn't sure which path to take. Keep reading the book I was already in, or start reading the smaller book. I chose to keep the books together and to read the whole set in the sequence they came nested. The second book brings us through Corbett's backstory, immigrating and taking a job at a zoo, where his life is a consistent routine paralleling the caged tiger. A new book appears when a character's name is spoken. Each book also brings us further back in time. In the third book, Capture of Pasha, young men in the jungle set up snares to trap a tiger and speak dismissively about the natives and their beliefs. The smallest book at the center goes back the furthest in time. It opens to a single spread, an origin story of the tiger's relationship to this island and people. Batsel explained that as you move into the center, each book is more vibrant and colorful than the last. This one is full of rich green and red. People and nature live together in harmony. Batsel has a collection of 19th century children's adventure books. She drew heavily on their style for Maneater. She said, "By appropriating the illustrative styles of eras past, my work connects the naive fairy tale depiction of colonial adventures in far-off lands and medieval fascinations with power over nature, with more modern or even futuristic narratives and social systems." We might notice that this fourth book is also the same one that Sir was reading at the start of Maneater. After this midpoint, the stories quickly move forward through time and the events that brought these characters' lives together. Pasha is captured. A wealthy white man pays the young white trappers as brown people load the caged tiger onto a ship. Returning to the second book and forward in time again, Pasha bites Corbett and is killed for it. Batsel has interspersed many details that visually reinforce the connected stories across the individual books. When Corbett looks for a new job, the name of the estate, Lancaster, appears partially obscured in the classified ad. The circled job is to work for the chief shareholder of the Imperial Trading Company. Both Lancaster and ETC, the initials of the company, are on the iron gate we saw at the beginning of Maneater. Returning to the inside of the house, Sir drops the book as he transforms into Rakan. Corbett hears the commotion and shoots, killing his boss and the tiger. It echoes the earlier scene at the zoo. You've got to put down a Maneater. In the final of Batsel's many cinematic illustrations, we're outside the house as 2 more shots fire inside. As Batsel described, ultimately Corbett was in an impossible position between the culture he comes from and the culture enforced upon him. The 4 books of Maneater can be read separately, but nestled together like matryoshka dolls, they form a complete, interwoven story about the greed and violence of imperialism. It was, and is, a destructive force, with disastrous ripple effects across generations. Intersection Gion Kyoto delicately moves us through a mundane moment in time, elevating it to another world of dream and memory. Maneater interweaves 4 fictional characters' stories across different eras to expose the deep and catastrophic impacts of imperialism, which are still in motion in our real world today. Both books skillfully integrate form, materials, imagery, and interaction to guide us through carefully articulated journeys across time and place.